All right, welcome to part 5 of Asteroids. If you remember last time, we got our asteroid to show up on the screen. Now what we need to do is to make that asteroid move around the screen. So we are going to start by getting into our class of asteroid, and we are going to add a couple more variables that we're going to be using today. We're going to be using a float random direction variable. I'm going to call it randdir for an abbreviation of random direction, and we're going to do a float, if I can spell float right, a speed. So random direction is going to be a, you can actually comment this in. Probably a good practice to start getting good at is getting your comments in. So random direction is going to be a radian value for the direction of the asteroid. So because the rotation function in processing uses radians, I don't even think I spelled radian right. Let's check. Radian. Oh, I did spell it right. Wonderful. Nope, I didn't, because it's randian. Okay, radian. So because processing uses radians instead of degrees, we need this to be a radian measurement. So it's going to be from 0 to 2 pi, or a iteration of that. And then our speed is going to be the number of pixels moved per frame. So what we're going to do is we are going to set our random direction to random from 0 to 2 pi. Okay, and I looked up the random function in here. Okay, so this is the reference page for processing. Random, right here, there's the random function. And then I looked up what 2 pi was. Boom, right there. So those are the two tools that I used to come up with this random number between 0 and 2 pi. And then we also need a speed, and let's just set that to 5 pixels for now. So then here's where we get into a little bit of trig. I don't know if you guys remember trigonometry at all, or if you've had that yet. But basically, we're going to take our position x, and we are going to, this will be a good time to teach you this tool. So sometimes with, like, if we wanted to add the speed to position x, we could say this. We could say position x equals position x plus speed, right? And what that would do is every update, as we saw in the player, it would add 5 to position x and keep adding and adding and adding. But there's this cool tool built into most programming languages where you can say plus equals. So this is the same thing, but you don't have to write out position x again. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to say add to position x the following every update. So we're going to add the cosine of the random direction that we get, and we're going to multiply that by the speed. Then we are going to do the same thing to position y, except we are going to change cosine to sine, and the speed is going to stay the same. Okay. Let me know if you want to see a breakdown of why this works, and we can work on it in class. Otherwise, we just need to do one thing to get this to move around the screen. We have to add test_asteroid.update to our update function in the main file. Otherwise, this should work. And you saw it move off the screen really quick. And I don't know if you guys have played asteroids, what happens is you have an asteroid, you have a bunch of asteroids on the screen, and they move around, and when they get off the screen on one side, they show up on the other side. So that's the next thing that we're going to do, and then we can really see this movement happening. So this is where I think adding a custom function works really well. So we're going to make this private, because I only want my asteroid object to be using this function, and we're going to call it edge. So basically what we want this function to do is we want the edge function to move the asteroid to the other side of the screen if it moves off the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some conditional statements. So I'm going to say if the position x is greater than the width of the screen, what I want to do is I want to set position x to be 0. So what this is going to do is if my asteroid is moving off the screen in the x direction and it goes past the width of the screen, it's going to pop it over to the left side of the screen. Then if the position x is less than 0, so depending on what direction it's going to move off one way or the other. So this is if it's moving from right to left and it goes off the screen, then we want to set the position x to be equal to the width of the screen. Remember, in this width, and we're going to use height in a second, these are in processing resources page, and they are set by the screen size that we set in the beginning. So then I'm going to do the same thing for position y. So we're going to do position y is greater than the height of the screen. Then we're going to set position y to be equal to 0. And then if position y is less than 0, then we are going to set position y to be equal to the height. This also might be the first time that you are seeing an inline if statement. So normally with an if statement, you have to do open and close curly brackets. But one cool thing about Java and a lot of other programming languages is if your if statement, if what is going to happen, so like here's our if statement, here's what's going to happen if that's true. If it's only one line of code, you don't need the curly brackets. You can just write it in line with your if statement. And so it reads like we just had it, like if position x is greater than the width, then position x is equal to 0. If position x is less than 0, then position x is equal to the width, and so on and so forth. So really cool way to condense your code and to just get it into a nice tight block that's a lot more readable, in my opinion, too. So what we need to do is we need to call this edge function then. So in the update, after we change the position, we're going to call edge. And what this is going to do is it's going to figure out if we just moved our asteroid off the screen. So let's try this and see if it works. Perfect. So in this, we got our asteroid to move around. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to get multiple asteroids. So make sure to save your code, grab me or Mr. Lavin, and show us that this is working, kind of just like how I have it right here. I'll see you in the next video.